A while ago, Liam Payne made the comment that his debut solo single, Strip That Down, was the first song from a former One Direction member to not only reach 1 billion streams, but that it also outsold other solo songs by these former members. Liam Payne did not outsell anyone from One Direction, and that's the cold truth. In today's video, let's take a look at Liam Payne's solo career following One Direction and see why it hasn't taken off. I'd like to say, title aside, I'm not here to tear apart Liam because he, as with any artist, has dedicated fans. But amid some interesting statements, poor sales, and lack of notoriety, especially comparative to other former One Direction members, it's worth investigating. As we continue, let me know whose solo career from One Direction is your favorite, and why you believe Liam's musical pursuit has shaped up to be how it is now. A like and subscription would also be greatly appreciated so you can stay connected to your favorite pop stars. Let's get into it now on Pop Dissected. Timing is really the most important thing about Liam's career. Liam's first album is entitled LP1, which I think is a neat title as it can stand for Liam Payne's first album or his first long play, which is what albums technically can be referred to. It released on December 6th of 2019. At this point, everyone but Louis had put out a record. However, Louis would drop his at the end of January 2020. Harry and Niall's first album came out in 2017, while Zayn's released in 2016. Mind you, One Direction disbanded in 2016 following Zayn's departure the year prior, so timing on these solo efforts, more or less, was crucial. Harry, Niall, and Zayn all saw pretty immediate success with their first releases, and their singles provided them with merit to their craft. Sometimes you're just a little too late, and this is the case for Liam and maybe arguably Louis as well. The aforementioned three got their albums out quickly, while the anticipation was likely at its peak for each former member of One Direction to pursue solo endeavors. Now, there's a distinction between Louis and Liam's albums when it comes to their release dates. Louis first teased his project in September of 2019, about 4 months before its official release, and naturally he put out a few singles to test the waters to try and snag a hit. He sort of did, but with these songs not being attached to any body of work at the time, his actual singles Off Walls wouldn't do so well, given they'd start being put out in March of 2019. Interestingly enough, his trajectory is pretty similar to Liam's. However, Liam would suffer from a delayed record as opposed to experimenting like Louis did to find a sound and genre that was most fitting. Liam, in my opinion, prematurely announced his album, nearly 2 years before it would release. To me, that's an issue. Since he was coming off such a successful band, the constant wait and almost leading on of a release date could have tired out even the most dedicated fans and definitely casual listeners. And since Liam wasn't necessarily a frontrunner for One Direction or commanded the attention like other former members did, timing was pretty important. It'll always be up to fan discussion who from One Direction was most popular, but from my general consensus, Liam has appeared to be one of the more underrated members. At the end of October of 2017, Liam stated his album would come out in January of 2018. It did not. Now, 2018 wasn't too late by any means, and I feel like the iron was still hot enough to strike. With high-profile collaborators and a seemingly diverse genre blend, this was shaping up to be a big release. However, in May of 2018, we'd be told the album would come out on September 14th. Again, he highlighted his collaborators, citing that big changes had affected his album's development and wanting it to truly represent him. Liam would give the fans the First Time EP in August of 2018, with his album Again being put on hiatus. First Time would hit number 2 on the US Heatseekers albums chart and do moderately well on 2 others. The title track single would not chart at all, however Liam would imply that the full-length album was close to being done. Jumping forward a year to September of 2019, which always seems to be the month for announcements, I figured out, it was revealed Liam was in the studio for the bulk of the year. Later that same month, Liam said the album was done. He's proud of it, perfected his sound, and incorporated contemporary inspirations. Within 4 days, Liam dropped the bomb that the album had been done for a year, and the kicker was, it wasn't going to come out likely until 2020. Thankfully for fans, in October of 2019, he'd say the album would come out on December 6th of 2019. And come out it did. and then it went. Even within a month of release, Louis' Walls outsold Liam's LP1, which had an extra month of release. Matter of fact, LP1 is the least successful solo debut of a former One Direction member, finding abysmal chart success. We understand the constant hyping up of a record just to delay it, then reveal it's been done for however long, just disappoints fans, and they stop caring and being invested. While every artist wants to perfect their craft and make an album truly worth celebrating, sometimes the more you tinker with your work over and over and over, you end up hurting it in the long run. Anyone who pursues creative endeavors or projects is likely familiar with this. You become trapped in a vacuum, so to speak. Perhaps Liam took the time to step away from his art with a fresh lens, which could be beneficial. We can't be sure though, and given the way critics saw the music as uninspired, void of personality, with their only compliment being his voice, we may be able to assume Liam just toyed with the music again and again until, well, we got what we got. I listened to a handful of tracks on this LP, one after the other, and I felt like I was listening to the same song. Nothing about it really stuck out to me, and it seemed kind of dated. It was music I've heard already before, and for this to be your big first album, that sound just isn't gonna make you distinct or stand out. In my opinion, Liam's chance to put out a successful album ended in 2018. If we look at where his singles had traction, it was then. But he released 9 of the 17 standard edition tracks as singles. Granted, there is a good amount of new material, but this strategy, or lack thereof, clearly was a dubious choice. Despite all this presentation about crafting an album for fans that represented him, he delivered music that critics saw as generic. Anyone could have done it. Liam didn't provide us with any sustainable image either. Female artists have always showcased broad spectacles of color, fashion, style, sound, etc. Men, whether it's their own doing, societal expectations, or what have you, seem to really want to be bad boys who are sexy. Looks are great, but it doesn't provide anything more than that. It doesn't give you a personality, it doesn't make you interesting, and if your worth is only based off how many mouths drool at you, what do you have? You can be that, or you're more down to earth, or you're the cool and relatable guy. Only a few men in the industry carve a truly unique path of identity, which is part of why Harry Styles succeeds so much. Now, I'd like to say there's no issue with presenting yourself as sensual or hot, but if that is the only marketing tool you're using and you don't have the work or the talent or the creativity to provide anything else, people will see right through you. As I said, it's not sustainable. Liam also just comes across as inauthentic and a bit unmotivated. Having an album that's made up of old tracks that have been out forever and putting out songs when your album may or may not even be finished, it feels like a wrong move. I'm not Liam Payne, so I can't speak to what his personal process was, but if you wanted to deliver a hard-hitting album, it could have come out in 2018, been significantly shorter and maybe a bit less all over the place, and had a distinct sound. Now, I can say this all day, but I do want to acknowledge there very well could have been serious personal issues going on. So I'd like to say, if that was the case, I'm really sorry for him. So, save maybe Harry Styles, since I think he's in a league of his own, the other former members of One Direction will always have their artistry compared. And if one falls short or isn't as notorious, everyone will notice. Most recently, Liam has found himself in hot water. He made a comment stating he hated Louis while they were in the band, but then said they're pals, and then the nail in the coffin was talking about Zayn, going out of his way to talk about Zayn's personal life, which I feel is a bit unwarranted, but I digress, and to each their own. Then came the comment about Liam believing he outsold everyone from One Direction. If we take this into account, and if he was serious, I'm sure there may have been a huge ego in the studio while he was working on LP1. Zayn seemed to respond to Liam's comments, and fans definitely noticed. Liam has since provided his explanation for his comments on Zayn, ignoring entirely what he said about outselling One Direction, and I do think Liam's apology suffices, honestly. And speaking of honesty, what do you all honestly think of LP1 and Liam's solo career? Would you like to have other videos on One Direction, and who is your favorite former bandmate? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe so you can stay connected to your favorite pop stars. Also, check out the description for similar videos like this. I'll see y'all next time.